Is Sonic strong enough to beat Frieza or the rest of the villains from Dragon Ball Z? I promise the answer will surprise you, because in researching this video, I stumbled onto a bunch of obscure feats and calculations from different games that I never see anyone talking about. I even uncovered some evidence that Sonic is more than just a hedgehog, but I'll save that secret until the end. You won't believe some of the stuff this little blue dude is capable of, because no one understands just how strong Sonic is, until today. In this video, we'll be pitting Sonic up against a gauntlet of Dragon Ball villains: Raditz, Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Boo, and maybe even a few others. We'll be covering Sonic strictly from the video game continuity, all the way from Sonic 1 on the Genesis up to Sonic Frontiers. This will not include any feats from the comics, cartoons, movies, or spin-offs like Sonic Boom. First, a super quick rundown of Sonic's basic abilities. But don't worry, I'll keep it brief, because gotta go fast, right? Sonic is an anthropomorphic hedgehog, naturally blessed with enhanced speed, strength, durability, and endurance. He can obviously run extremely fast, but also make use of boost energy, propelling himself forward by generating inertia from nothing, even in midair. This is often used in conjunction with his homing attack, spinning into a ball and launching at an enemy to bash them with incredible force. Sonic's speed is incredible. He can run up vertical surfaces, across the surface of water, create after images, and even move so quickly that it appears that there are a dozen of him attacking a single enemy. Something that will be very important to understand for this video is that Sonic gets stronger and faster as he gets older. In the ending of Sonic Generations, we see classic Sonic learning the boost. In Sonic Forces, we see him battle Infinite multiple times. Infinite points out that Sonic's abilities exceeded their previous encounter, and Sonic claims that he grows stronger every second, just like Saitama. This is a statement and probably hyperbole, but I think the best example of this phenomenon is that Sonic was unable to defeat Perfect Chaos without transforming into Super Sonic during their battle in Sonic Adventure. But later, when an older and more experienced Sonic fought Perfect Chaos in Sonic Generations, he did it in his base form. Another example is from the opening cutscene to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Super Sonic is so much less impressive that it only takes a single surprise attack from Knuckles to knock him back into base form. But later versions are completely invulnerable to final boss level foes. What this means is, if there is a feat or statement that shows Sonic's limit of speed or strength, we can disregard it if a later feat contradicts it, because Sonic just grew more powerful over time. So, the Sonic we see in Frontiers is significantly more powerful than any version we've seen thus far. Be sure to keep that in the back of your mind. Sonic also has access to the Chaos Emeralds, ancient otherworldly artifacts that contain a limitless amount of positive and negative energy. By tapping into their positive energies, he can utilize Chaos Control, allowing him to teleport across massive distances between dimensions and freeze time. With 2 or more emeralds, Chaos Control can open up portals in time, used to travel to any desired point of the past or future. As we saw in Frontiers, Sonic has used the Chaos Emeralds so much that he has developed a natural chaos energy of his own without even using an emerald, just like Shadow. This allows him to generate energy projectiles and minor constructs, used in conjunction with his incredible speed for deadly combat combinations. These chaos attacks are obviously anime-inspired, drawing heavily on the many influences the Sonic franchise has taken from Dragon Ball. Speaking of which, let's get things started. Raditz is the first villain to appear in Dragon Ball Z, the secret brother to Goku and ambassador of the oncoming Saiyan threat, the race of brutal warriors that have terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Raditz was far too strong for Goku, who only barely scraped out a win at the cost of his life, with a lot of reluctant help from Piccolo. To find out how powerful Raditz is, we can make use of power levels. I know that the entire point of introducing power levels was to prove that a good martial artist can overcome gaps in power through training, ingenuity, and skill, but for the purposes of this video, they serve perfectly well enough for calculating feats and limits. To find Raditz's speed, we can compare him to Goku. As a child, Goku trained with Kami and Mr. Popo to dodge lightning, which moves at 270,000 miles per hour. That training was in preparation for Goku's fight with Piccolo in the World Martial Arts Tournament at the end of the original Dragon Ball series. In that fight, Goku had a resting power level of 260. We can compare that to Raditz's power level of 1500, which gives us an estimated top speed of 1.5 million million miles per hour, or 2,000 times the speed of sound. In terms of destructive capability, Raditz scales from both Roshi and Piccolo, who both destroyed the moon, overcoming its gravitational binding energy and detonating it. Roshi did so first, at a stated power level of about 150, roughly 1/10 of Raditz's power level, and it seemed to take great effort. If we consider this the minimum required energy to destroy the moon, then Raditz is strong enough to destroy a small planet like Mercury. Does Sonic come anywhere near either of these hurdles? Let's start with speed. First off, Sonic is at least as fast as sound. That's his namesake after all. He's listed as supersonic in countless game manuals, guides, and on Sega websites, including this page of the booklet included with Sonic Heroes. This means he is definitively faster than sound, or 768 miles per hour. Beyond that, in Sonic Mania, the special stages include a speed gauge that shows he can run up to Mach 3, or 2,300 miles per hour. This is fast, but Raditz is still more than 300 times faster. Let's take a bigger leap. In Sonic Adventure, during the final fight with Perfect Chaos, Tikal explains that you must reach your top speed to push through Chaos's body and reach the head, and when you do this, you transform into a bolt of lightning. Later in Sonic Generations, Sonic fights and defeats Perfect Chaos in base, meaning he's at least that fast, 270,000 miles per hour. We're getting closer. One of the most well-known speed feats for Sonic, which was mentioned in his death battle versus Mario, is when he escaped the pseudo-black hole made of Hyper-Gohan energy at the end of Sonic Colors. Sonic ran his entire distance without any use of boost, so I don't think it's plausible to say that this is his absolute maximum speed, even at the time. But because he escaped the expanding black hole, he must have been moving at relativistic speeds, about 30% the speed of light, or 200 million miles per hour, completely blowing Raditz out of the water. But even with this ridiculous speed, it doesn't matter if Sonic can't damage Raditz. Does he have any small planet level feats? Well, going back to his battle with Perfect Chaos, we know that Chaos threatened to destroy the world in the past, before being sealed away in the Master Emerald. But this was after destroying the Echidna civilization, meaning there technically aren't any world-ending feats by Perfect Chaos in the games or the lore. That said, with how quickly he obliterated Station Square and how powerful the Chaos Emeralds are, I don't doubt his ability to life-wipe the planet. But conservatively, we'll call Perfect Chaos city level, just for now. A much better small planet level scale is the Death Egg, Eggman's giant orbital tribute to the Death Star. It has been described multiple times as planet-destroying and used to threaten the Earth, meaning its attack potency scales above Raditz, who tops out at small planet level. How does this relate back to Sonic? Well, Sonic has defeated the Death Egg robot, the giant mech suit at the heart of the Death Egg. He's done it many times, actually, and every single time, defeating the Death Egg robot immediately causes the Death Egg to lose power and come crashing down to the planet below. This has happened in Sonic 2, Sonic Mania, and Sonic Generations. The Death Egg is clearly powered by the robot at its heart, meaning the robot is also planet level, and so is Sonic. Raditz is getting smoked by Sonic. But if a lowly Saiyan wasn't enough, how about the Prince? Son of King Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, came to Earth looking for the Dragon Balls, desiring immortality. Born with a power that completely outclasses the natural strength of every other Saiyan, he was a monster that Goku could only overcome with the help of Krillin, Gohan, and Yajirobe. Vegeta's attack potency is super easy to calculate. We have a direct statement from him that his Gallic Gun will destroy the Earth, a threat Goku takes very seriously during their classic beam struggle. In terms of speed, we only need compare Vegeta's power level to Raditz, 1500 versus 18,000, and we can calculate Vegeta's movement speed at about 18 million miles per hour. It should be that simple, but Vegeta has a trick up his sleeve, one people often forget. The Ozaru, or the Great Ape transformation, massively increases his size, but also his strength, speed, and durability, by 10 times in fact. This means he's strong enough to destroy a significantly larger planet, like Neptune. On top of that, his speed is a whopping 180 million miles per hour. That is relativist, approaching light speed. And Sonic? Well, his previous black hole speed feat puts him at a comfortable 20 million miles per hour faster than Great Ape Vegeta. We would need a feat statement or scale showing Sonic is around large planet level and attack potency if he's going to completely outclass Vegeta. Let's see what we've got. First, we know that the Chaos Emeralds are at least planet level in the energy they contain. In Sonic Unleashed, each emerald is capable of overpowering the force of Dark Gaia and dragging an entire chunk of the planet back towards the core. The speed at which this happens means each emerald is exerting more than 200 nonillion joules, enough force to easily destroy an Earth-sized planet. And Sonic has battled and defeated multiple characters utilizing the power of the Chaos Emeralds. These include Chaos from Sonic Adventure and Emerald from Sonic Battle. Sonic defeats them both multiple times, powered up by an additional emerald each time. This means Sonic attack potency and durability is at least 7 times planetary, not even including base Chaos or Emerald's power. That still doesn't cross the 10 times planetary mark of Great Ape Vegeta, but we're getting close, so let's keep going. In Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic defeats Eraser Djinn. Eraser Djinn is a genie that absorbed 100 of the Arabian Nights, or worlds that held stories from the Book of Arabian Nights. Some people like to scale this all the way to low complex multiversal, because Eraser Djinn had multiple universes of energy, right? I think this is fairly legitimate, but if we're being conservative, I would consider this a big leap to say that each story contained an entire universe. It's much more likely that every story was a pocket dimension holding only its own world, and not necessarily a unique fourth dimensional time space the same size as our universe. That said, it would be very reasonable to scale this up to star level, since every world does have a sun. But sticking to the very low end, this puts Eraser Djinn at a minimum of 100 times planetary, or large planet level. And with that, the Knight of the Wind surpasses the Prince of the Saiyans. Sonic beats Vegeta. Frieza is the terrifying galactic emperor that obliterated the Saiyans and their homeworld, holding the universe hostage as he bought and sold planets and wiped out civilizations without a care in the world. It was only after Goku learned to embrace both his earthly training and Saiyan genetics and tapped into the legendary power of the Super Saiyan that the terror of Frieza was finally brought to an end. So, just how strong is he? Final Form Frieza is usually considered to be large planet level in attack potency, and this seems pretty accurate. In the Bardock flashback, we see First Form Frieza casually destroy Planet Vegeta with a single finger. Planet Vegeta has 10 times the mass of Earth. This may sound like a large planet, but it's actually pretty tame. Something like Jupiter has close to 1,000 times the mass of Earth, and requires significantly more force to overcome its gravitational binding energy. Seeing how Frieza's power level is about 6,000 times Vegeta's power level, he likely taps out right around dwarf star level destructive capability. This lines up nicely between planet level Vegeta and solar system level Perfect Cell, and it's supported by the Sun, a dwarf star, being a force strong enough to defeat Cooler in the Cooler movie, who Frieza obviously scales closely to. Large planet level it is. We can calculate Frieza's speed by comparing him to Goku. When Goku left the healing tank, he was on the opposite side of Namek from where Frieza was fighting his friends. Namek is a planet the same size as Earth, and Goku traveled from the healing tank all the way to Frieza in an instant. That is 1/2 the Earth's circumference in, at most, a single second. At 12,450 miles, this puts his speed at just under 45 million miles per hour, or 6% the speed of light. After this, he transforms into a Super Saiyan, multiplying his power and speed by 50, so we can conservatively estimate that Final Form Frieza, who almost matches Goku, fights at around 3.3 times the speed of light. So, what's Sonic got to match up against that? Starting with speed, he's claimed on several occasions to be able to run faster than the speed of light. In this conversation with Omega, it's calculated he will reach and surpass that speed in a short while, and Sonic confirms that light speed is, quote, small time. Beyond that, we also have a statement from the game manual of Sonic Unleashed that claims he can run at light speed. We know this is plausible because Sonic scales directly to Shadow, On multiple occasions, the two are stated to be equals, rivals, and battle to a standoff. In Shadow the Hedgehog, Shadow entered the circuits of a computer, where his body was literally converted into photons, and he was able to move and react as he traveled through the system. Sonic also has a move called the Lightspeed Dash, where he travels along a string of rings in one quick burst. This move is obviously called Lightspeed Dash, but has been stated by multiple sources in-game that this move is literally the speed of light. Knowing that, in the game Sonic Unleashed, the heads-up display includes a meter that tracks your speed in SPD units, and even notifies you on screen when your speed peaks. The Lightspeed Dash is clocked in with a value of 396 SPD, while Sonic's top running speed is a value of 4,399 SPD, or 11.4 times faster than light. And for attack potency, in Sonic Chronicles, Sonic was able to damage the Voxai Overmind with a single strike. The Overmind were empowered by the Great Emeralds at the time. The Great Emeralds gave Tails Plane, the Cyclone, enough power to withstand a wormhole that destroyed multiple stars. Sonic damaged the Voxai Overmind, which were powered by star-level Great Emeralds. Then, in Sonic Riders, Sonic defeats the Babylon Guardian, an ancient being that creates and maintains his own pocket dimension, the Mobius Strip. We don't know the size of this dimension, but it does contain a sun. This dimension appears after his defeat, meaning the Babylon Guardian is at least star level. As mentioned previously, you could easily scale Sonic's defeat of Eraser Jin to 100 times star level for each Arabian Night world that contained a sun. The Galactic Emperor is losing his crown. Sonic breezes past Frieza, easily outclassing him in both speed and AP. But what happens when you take the genetic material of both Frieza and his father King Cold and splice it with the DNA of all the strongest warriors Earth has to offer? You're left with the time-traveling, metamorphosing bio-android created as the dying scream of the Red Ribbon Army, Cell. In his perfect form, Cell was the very first villain that Goku outright refused to keep fighting, accepting defeat and ceding the fight to his son, Gohan. While Gohan's rage and latent potential was enough to topple the android and win the day, will Sonic have the same luck? Before we get into scaling Perfect Cell, if you're enjoying this video and want to see me make more like it, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. It is the best way you can support me and what I do. I put out a new video every month, and you can always unsubscribe in the future if you change your mind. Hey, if this video does well enough, maybe I'll be able to afford that life-saving surgery for my litter of blind, orphan puppies. You know, before I have to take them back to the puppy squishing factory. Anyway, Cell is super easy to scale because he, like Vegeta, has a very clear statement. In his final clash with Gohan, he explains that he will destroy not just the Earth, but the entire solar system with his Kamehameha. This statement is backed up in countless guides too, so we're double sure it's legit. When it comes to finding Perfect Cell's speed, all we need to do is compare him to Frieza. We know that Frieza is large planet level, while Perfect Cell tops out at solar system level. The force to destroy a large planet is 70 undecillion joules, while the force to break the gravitational binding energy of our solar system is a staggering this many joules, about 43 million times more energy. Assuming power and speed scale equally, we can scale Super Perfect Cell to about 140 million times faster than light. That's an insane jump in both power and speed. How does Sonic stack up? Starting with power, in Sonic Battle, Eggman creates the Final Egg Blaster, an orbital death cannon that fires a laser capable of wiping out multiple solar systems at the very minimum. Shortly after this, the android Emerald absorbs the power of the Final Egg Blaster and transforms into Ultimate Emerald. Sonic then battles Ultimate Emerald and beats him in under 30 seconds. This means that Sonic displayed, at a minimum, multi-solar system attack potency and durability. And for Sonic's next speed feat in Sonic Rivals, Eggman Nega pilots a spacecraft that's traveling extremely fast. Using the stars in the background and triangulating their movement to the position of the ship, along with the knowledge that the average distance between stars in the Milky Way is about 5 light years, we can calculate the speed of this ship as 546 million times faster than light. And Sonic is able to move along its surface, even reacting to and dodging meteors crashing into it, meaning he has reaction and movement speeds equal to or greater than the speed of the spaceship, more than 500 million C, almost 3 times the speed of Perfect Cell. I guess Sonic had enough experience fighting ultimate life forms while clashing with Shadow, because Cell is just not fast enough. Perfect or not, Sonic wins again. But what comes next is not so easily defined, not by quantitative methods in the world of math or science. The primordial force of destruction, born from the mind of the demonic magician Bibbidi, the magical, uncontrollable Majin Buu. Buu is terrifying for a handful of reasons. His eerie, childlike nature, the mystery of his creation, the fact that he actually succeeded in wiping out humanity, or that our heroes threw everything in the kitchen sink at him before he finally went down. Vegeta's redemption, Super Saiyan 3, several fusions, none of them were enough. Only when Goku worked with both Vegeta and Hercule did they finally manage to put Buu to sleep with the power of the Spirit Bomb. Buu's strength and speed are pretty nebulous. There aren't any good feats or statements to show exactly how strong anyone in the Buu arc actually is. We know that Dabura is equal in power to Perfect Cell, and that Buu outclasses him, and if we assume Super Saiyan 2 Goku is equivalent in power to Gohan in the Cell games, then we know Buu tops out at 4 times that, or Goku's strength as a Super Saiyan 3. But that's only Fat Buu, not Super Buu with Gotenks and Gohan absorbed. I'll be honest with you, going into this video, before I did any research, I was expecting Sonic to tap out shortly after fighting Vegeta, but time and time again he has proven me wrong. So just to keep things spicy, we're gonna say that Buu is galaxy level in attack potency, and scale his speed accordingly all the way up to 50 septillion times faster than light. I know that realistically, Buu is not galaxy level, because that's such a tremendous jump in power. Such a jump, in fact, that this is an estimate that power scalers are much more comfortable using for characters in Dragon Ball GT. But I think Sonic can do it. Let's see if I'm right. Starting with speed, some people claim that Sonic's speed is immeasurable, or faster than time, due to several feats. The first is in Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic runs through an infinite dimension to enter the astral plane, but nowhere does it imply that he crossed the entirety of this dimension, just that the dimension itself is infinite. It's very possible and extremely reasonable that he simply ran through a portion of this infinite dimension. There's a similar feat in Sonic Forces. Infinite creates a dimension of null space that he traps Sonic and the Rookie inside. Unused dialogue shows us that null space goes on forever, but the two of them manage to break out of it anyway. The reason this feat is so questionable is that it's never stated how they broke out. While it's possible they somehow ran the entire distance, it looks much more like they simply found an exit, or perhaps even broke a hole in the dimensional barrier with their speed. Either way, this does nothing to imply that Sonic is faster than time. The last feat is from Sonic Generations. It's explained early on that after the Time Eater tore apart his timeline and left various locations devoid of life in the white space, the two Sonics can, quote, accelerate through time, unquote, to restore the world. This line is interpreted very literally and used to define their speed as immeasurable, but there are multiple other much more reasonable interpretations. The first of which is that here in the white space, time is literally projected onto three-dimensional space. By slowly walking to the right, the Sonics are technically moving through time. It might not be their speed, but simply their presence that reverses the damage. The second possibility is that they only need to move at light speed or close to it, the point at which relativity literally accelerates time from your perspective. There's no way of definitively claiming that this is an immeasurable speed showing. So, unfortunately, it turns out there aren't any speed feats that put Sonic as any faster than 500 million C, at least not reliably. And unless you assume his fights with Eraser Jin are actually multiversal, which like I said is a stretch, then Sonic's not any stronger than a multi-solar system buster either. I really thought he could do it, but it looks like Sonic is losing to Majin Buu. Just kidding. Strap in, it is time to go beyond. The Chaos Emeralds are ancient, otherworldly artifacts of unending power. Literally, they have infinite, never-ending energy, just like the androids from Dragon Ball. How much power you can get from them, though, depends entirely on what's in your heart. When Sonic collects all 7, he awakens the full might of the Emeralds, in his glowing golden state, Super Sonic. Much like the Super Saiyan transformation, Super Sonic is magnitude stronger than his base form, but unlike Super Saiyan, it is not a mere 50 times multiplier. No, Super Sonic is much, much more than that. In Sonic Advance 3, after transforming into his super form, Sonic grabbed Eggman and flew him into space, chasing after Gemerald. In only 6 seconds, they make it to a star cluster inside a nebula. The closest nebula to Earth is 1,300 light years away, meaning Super Sonic flew, with Eggman in tow, at 7 billion C. Then, in Sonic Rush, Super Sonic and Burning Blaze fly to a separate dimension to battle Eggman and Eggman Nega. We see them soar through space and pass by galaxies until they reach the edge of the observable universe and enter a separate plane. In about 8 seconds. This clocks them in at roughly 180 quadrillion C. Super Sonic defeated Dark Gaia, who casually overwhelmed the gravitational binding energy of Earth by tearing the continents apart and pushing them away, and also passively held them in place. In Sonic and the Secret Rings, he defeated Alf Layla Walayla as Darkspine Sonic, then recreated the entire Arabian Nights, 1001 separate worlds, all with a wave of his hand. This was Darkspine Sonic, who is explicitly stated to be weaker than Super Sonic because the World Rings scale so much lower than the Chaos Emeralds. The Chaos Emeralds, in lore, each hold an entire universe of chaotic energy. We see this first in Sonic R's Radiant Emerald track, where the race literally takes place inside of a Chaos Emerald. Stars, planets, and nebula are all visible in the periphery. Depending on how you interpret this, that could mean that using all 7 emeralds grants the user the attack potency of 7 times universal. And due to their infinite nature, that energy is not split up among multiple users. It's equally applied to each. In Sonic Generations, both classic and modern Sonic destroy the Time Eater, a 4th-dimensional being that transcends and tears apart the timeline and exists in its own extra-dimensional domain outside of time-space. That makes them 4th-dimensional in attack potency. In Sonic 06, Super Sonic battles the Mad God Solaris alongside Shadow and Silver. Solaris is a superdimensional deity beyond time that was capable of tearing apart the fabric of reality, could attack the past, present, and future simultaneously, and was stated to be actively ending multiple timelines. The 3 of them were capable of avoiding his attacks that possessed immeasurable speed through non-linear time, overpowered and defeated him. The Sonic 06 guidebook even states that Super Sonic alone is more powerful than Solaris. Depending on how you interpret this fight, that places Super Sonic as high complex multiversal or 5th-dimensional destructive capability. Obviously, this means Super Sonic possesses immeasurable speed by avoiding the attacks from Solaris that strike acausally, but Sonic later shows off this immeasurable speed while fighting Supreme at the end of Sonic Frontiers, attacking multiple times without the appearance of movement. And this is where things truly get crazy. The End is a being that is above gods and monsters, an all-encompassing force that surpassed the power of just the Chaos Emeralds. The End was so powerful that even with the Emeralds and the 4 Titans, the Ancients had no choice but to create a digital universe, cyberspace, to trap the End inside. During their final battle, the End looks into Sonic's mind and states that it surpasses all other foes he's fought, describing them as finite while he is infinite. Yes, the End says that infinite is finite. That means the Phantom Ruby, Perfect Dark Gaia, the Time Eater, the Final Hazard, Perfect Chaos, Eraser Jin, Emerald, Gemerald, and even Solaris, all of them are like specks compared to the End. If we interpret this literally, the End is an entire dimensional tier higher than the strongest of them, Solaris, making it at least a 6th dimensional being. But I think a more concrete and easily interpreted scale is that the End is literally the conceptual embodiment of death that can override not only time and space, but other concepts like fate. The End has an abstract existence, is the self-proclaimed orchestrator and arbiter of order in the universe. It's essentially an eldritch god that wrote several of the laws that govern reality. Its will is fate itself, and Sonic even says that he must, quote, break the chains of fate to defeat it. As their fight comes to a close, the End admits that Sonic has transcended law and time. Super Sonic scales to not just a causal speed, but a conceptual strength, altering fate and the laws of reality. Even if you're not convinced by the scaling of base Sonic, these supersonic feats are extremely clear. Super Sonic is easily multiversal with immeasurable speed, a-causal reaction speed, stronger than both fate and logical laws. If it wasn't clear already, Super Sonic completely outshines Majin Buu. They're not even in the same league anymore. Depending on how you interpret these feats, Super Sonic not only blitzes through Dragon Ball Z, but possibly all of Dragon Ball Super. We know the absolute pinnacle of strength in Dragon Ball Multiverse is the Omni King, and even he has clear limits. The fact that multiple versions of him exist across different timelines means that his power and existence does not scale beyond a single multiverse with a linear temporal dimension. Meanwhile, Solaris threatened all existing timelines, and the End is arguably an entire tier of dimensional power above him, and both fell to the golden glow of Super Sonic. But why? Why? How is Sonic so powerful? I want to leave you with one last idea. This, unlike everything I've discussed so far, is entirely headcanon. It's not stated anywhere in the series, and only very vaguely alluded to, but I personally think it makes quite a bit of sense. To be frank, it is extremely surprising that Sonic is so powerful. I thought that he would fall to planet and star-shattering villains like the ones in Dragon Ball, but he prevailed every single time. Why? Why is Sonic so strong? Why is he so fast? It's a question we've never gotten an answer to. The comics have attempted to give an answer for where Sonic gets his speed, but he has no origin in the canon of the games. Here's my pitch. The Ancients are a race of beings made of sentient water, and Chaos is the god of water. Solaris is the god of fire. Gaia, the earth, manifests as two deities, the light and dark, to represent the sun and the moon. In the world of Sonic, we've seen many deities that represent the forces of nature, but we have never seen a god of the wind. Sonic has always been characterized as carefree, energetic, and incredibly fast, all attributes closely thematically tied with the wind in stories throughout all of history. Sonic has countless moves and attacks that create whirlwinds. He owns a plane called the Tornado. His best friend is the only fox in the world that can fly through the skies. He has no master except the wind that blows free. On Angel Island, there exists a mural depicting Super Sonic battling Eggman for the Master Emerald. Sonic's existence was prophesized centuries before his birth. After saving the world together during their battle with the Final Hazard, Shadow even admits that he is not the ultimate life form. Sonic is. Of all the beings in the world, Sonic alone was the Iblis trigger, the reason the god of flames fully manifested. And what causes a flame to burn hotter? Wind. Sonic alone was worthy to wield Excalibur. He is the Knight of the Wind. And maybe, possibly, the god of it too. Or maybe it's not that complicated. Maybe what you see really is what you get, just a guy who loves adventure. stay frosty.